Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm Nick McDaniel. He's Myron Fancher. How the heck are you, buddy?
I am okay. I am practicing the first law of podcasting. Your wife will always text you right as you're about to start recording.
Always, never fails. It's when all of the best phone calls, texts, and all that kind of emails come through is when you start hitting the record button for absolute sure, man.
But where do you find those fine recordings, Nick?
Man, listen, we've done a lot of some cool stuff lately. We bumped up, I dropped something yesterday over on our Patreon page, patreon.com/tapped out pod. That's where we put like the bonus content. We've got, you get the shows early. So this week you would, if you were a Patreon member, you would have gotten something on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday so far. It's all scheduled where there was either bonus content or getting the show early. Absolutely, like I said, we're trying to put out more stuff every single week. But of course, listen, if you're a YouTube, watcher, tappedoutpod.com takes you right to the YouTube page. The 2 weekly shows are there every week. Nothing's changed there. Just all of the paid memberships and the bonus stuff is only available at patreon.com/tappedoutpod.
Yes.
Well, man, look, we had a lot of stuff we were going to talk about that happened over the last weekend. But look, because we're covering all of the national stuff here on the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast, and but look, I know one of the things you're excited about. We talked about it a little bit before we went on the air here, and that is Saturday night's main event's return.
Main event. Man, think about my childhood not having cable television, waiting on NBC to run a Saturday night's main event.
And man, look, we're gonna get apparently they've already mentioned another one's coming soon.
Oh,
so it's gonna be a regular thing, which we kind of knew with the whole deal they worked out, with the USA, NBC, Universal, family when they were doing these. Amongst other things, look, we're going to talk about another deal here in a minute. That's going to be an interesting conversation. But let's dive in deep. You're probably more excited about the card than I am overall.
Yeah, I'm more excited about the card than you are. We went through it and looked at it. It's not a best built card. I thought there's a couple of things on there that are super built. Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes. How could you build more than this? I mean, this was put together over months. This is a pay-per-view level match. This is something I wouldn't be surprised to see on one of the big 4 pay-per-views.
Well, here's the thing. I think this match is here, and this match being here is the reason we didn't get Cody at Survivor Series. Because it's so close. They did do a good job, by the social media where Kevin Owens attacked. They've kind of built on it ever since. A lot of the promos and stuff in between. I wanted to ask you, there's been a really weird take that's out there. That got put out in the social media world and the media world as Mark Henry and Bully Ray both suggest, why not take the belt off of Cody and put it on Kevin Owens here? What would it hurt?
Well, let's see. Let me go back and go through the math I did previously. As usual, my math is horribly flawed most of the time. So we are recording this on the 11th to drop on the 12th. On that date, there will be 19 days left in the month, and then 6 more days, so 25 days until the premiere on Netflix. This weekend, you drop the belt. Probably 3 weeks from there. That's 3 weeks from Saturday night. You drop the belt, put it on. You put it on Kevin Owens. You get a lot of heat for your Netflix premiere, which is also your biggest show. You're talking about moving Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes over to Raw for this, and that's something wow, you could have some kind of massive title rematch for your big Netflix premiere, and you generate it on your premiere of your Saturday night's main event. I think that's not a bad idea at all.
I understand it to be hey, it gives a sense of excitement about, especially when you start talking about the next Saturday night's main event. Hey, they changed the world. They changed the WWE title on there. So I think because here's the thing. If we go through here, we're does anybody lose their titles here? That could be the concern, right? Nothing's of any, Gunther's probably not losing because I'm guessing Finn and Damian Priest aren't going to get
Yeah.
along.
That's your distraction match right there. Finn and Damian will take each other out. And is that the Judgment Day cracks? Is that the final thing? Is that where the Judgment Day is going to interfere? Do we see Gunther and Damian teaming up, or at least taking each other's side?
So I want to backpedal up real quick. I want to wrap up the Cody thing, but I do see something here that I want to talk about. I think if you put it on Kevin, again, shock value is one thing. There's an old saying that that there's a wise man in wrestling says that I've kind of like adopted. Well, then what? Like if we're doing it and we know we're going into it like, hey, we're just going to turn around, put the thing right back on Cody. Is it really is the shock value alone worth? Because then you interrupt Cody's title reign for 3 weeks, basically, for what? Just so we could say we had a shocking thing on the main event. Like, is that worth it? I listen, and I'm telling people, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Send in your thoughts if you think I'm wrong here. I just don't know that. Does it do more damage? Does that make sense? Does it do more damage?
I get exactly what you're saying. Does it do more damage to Cody Rhodes' title reign? Does it do more damage to the concept of Saturday night's main event? But I don't know the answer to that question, Nick. I really don't. I think that title reigns, the length of them are more important when it comes to establishing someone like Gunther and getting somebody over. Like becoming the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion was a big deal. And him having a long reign as the champion now, this is establishing Gunther. That's his gimmick. But Cody Rhodes is Cody Rhodes. He's the magic guy right now. I mean, dog gets more likes than just about 90% of the roster. But sometimes the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Was that Mr. Spock, Star Trek 3? To pull a obscure reference that I might even be getting wrong. I can't give you this. I'm gonna have to wait and see. And I'm gonna be at a Christmas party, for Christ's sake. Probably sitting there on my phone, zooming on it.
Yeah, I'll be home. I'll probably watch this live because it's gonna be the one night that I have to stay home for the weekend. Because we're trying to book out a whole bunch of stuff for the rest.
Oh my God, this weekend's booked all out the door.
Yeah. So yeah, I just don't think I would do it. Hey, I understand. I get it. Totally understand.
Okay,
but
here's a surprise question for you, though.
Sure.
Surprise question. Who out of the Judgment Day needs the Judgment Day worse? I give you a free one. Dom don't need the Judgment Day if the Judgment Day splits up after this paper.
Can I give you a hot take? I told somebody the other day, and they thought I was crazy.
Who?
I said within the next 5 years, Dominic Mysterio is going to be probably one of the top baby faces in WWE.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
And they were like, "Wait, no, he's a he." I go, who did we have this conversation with a while back when we talked about the pendulum swings? If you pull all the way to one side, and they're the most hated heel, when they turn, the pendulum goes whoop and swings farther. Then they become like If you're in like an area where people are kind of like, then like you turn, they're like. But when they hate you, when you turn, it's like the passion switch goes to the other extreme.
Yep.
But anyway, no, I agree. I think eventually, Finn needs them for now because I see the potential, believe it or not, for maybe a very short term, and I mean very short term. Gunther, Damian fighting off the Judgment Day.
Yeah.
Just temporarily allies, just because we got to deal with this because there's so many of them. But I agree with you 100%. Look, Finn's been showing like signs of like it's all about Finn now.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the implosion's going to happen at some point. Because if you took Finn and move him off and put him in the world title picture again, and then you took Liv and you take Dom and put them over, like they're fine.
Yeah.
And here's my thing: where does Jughead go? I don't know. Well, who does he with? Is he with Dom and Liv, or is he with or does he just go out because he's in danger? Without the Judgment Day, I do worry about Jughead. I really do.
Well, Carlito.
Carlito, I know this sounds crazy. I have all the faith in the world.
You believe in Carlito. I believe in Carlito. You think Carlito will be fine? You think Carlito will be able to survive on his own outside of the Judgment Day? Just because he's Carlito?
Yeah. I think I've always been a fan of that character. I think he's got enough character and personality. He's fine on his own.
Charisma.
Jughead. So to answer your question, I think Jughead's probably one who needs him the most.
I can't argue with you. I mean, if you're right about Carlito, Jughead is the worst one. He is the least charismatic, and putting him in a tag team with Finn Balor has been the best thing that's ever happened to him, in my opinion. And if he's no longer in that, I mean, they're the tag champs. If he's no longer a tag champ, what does that leave him? Is he going to join Butch?
Nah, I don't know. I think you probably end up still with a team of some. Like, there's going to be a tag team that comes out of it. Could be Jughead and Carlito. I could see that being a thing because they'll feel like they're the ones who got hosed out of the whole deal, right?
That isn't cool.
Yeah, that's not cool, but yeah.
But I mean, this is a great looking show. I mean, there's going to be some phenomenal women's matches on here.
Send the hate mail for what I'm about to say. Tap.pod@gmail.com. The card's okay. They're selling us on nostalgia. Is what this whole thing is being built on. I like
nostalgia.
No, so do I. Look, I'm watching it for a reason. I'm telling you. Like, I'm just saying, when I look at the matches, like the Cody Kevin thing has me intrigued a little bit. All of the others I feel like are progression matches. None of them are going to be, anything's going to be solved. It's just literally like Drew and Sammy's starting. Like they're kind of just starting essentially. Yeah. So that's going, but you're going to tell me like, oh, Jesse Ventura's going to be there. There's talks of, Hogan coming back. There's talks, all these people are coming. And I'm like, okay, so we're going to do the nostalgia thing, which is cool because guess what? Especially by the way, on a national TV channel. It's not even cable. It's on NBC broadcast network. That's your masses. That's your casual. There's going to be, I guarantee there's going to be people that go, oh, wrestling, Saturday Night Main Event. I used to watch that when I was a kid. Yeah. They don't watch wrestling now, but they're going to watch it. So you got to stroll out some of those people from the past. I wouldn't be stunned if we saw a Brooklyn Brawler appearance or something.
Oh, no, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Cyndi Lauper, to be honest with you. She's touring right now. I saw her on concert. She did terrific. What is the college football schedule like for that night? Are we off this week, or we got
the only game this weekend's Army Navy? That's the only game.
Okay, I don't have. So what a perfect week.
Yeah, because it's a day. Honestly, let's be honest. It's why they picked tonight. Because NBC would have had they could have had a football game for that matter.
They would, So the football game would have blown out. So why not? I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing who's advances that Women's United States Championship match.
Yeah, so Army Navy, and I knew that I couldn't remember if it was 3 or 4. It's 3:00. It's on CBS. Game's going to be over by 7:30 in that ballpark. They both like to run the ball, so 7:30 sounds very doable. Yeah. So then what are you going to do? Flip on Saturday Night Main Event. You're going to go to NBC. So
because NBC will be adding commercials to it all through the game. Isn't it an NBC game?
No, CBS.
Okay, sorry.
But yeah, so I mean, it's good to be again. Anybody who was a fan during that era, they're probably going to be watching it, catching it, whatever. I'm sure it's probably on Peacock too because they stream everything pretty much at there. So pick it. We're going to discuss Peacock again in a minute, but
Peacock.
other news. This it's kind of been over the last week, just 2 weeks. WWE is kind of mimicking a little bit of the college football. Speaking of college football, they're doing. We called it the trade portal. I know they're calling it like the trade or
transfer portal,
whatever. Yeah. So, and here's what we were hoping. Like we started hearing about this. So like, got GM showing up on other shows and trying to take talents and do some of that kind of stuff. Initially, what was your thoughts on it? Because I had some pretty strong feelings. I thought.
Well, if you get redshirted, do you have to go to Raw?
Maybe.
Uh okay. I hope this works out better for wrestling than it did for college football, because I don't know what the hell is going on in college football this year.
Pause. I'm going to ask you this. I agree with some. How about this? Lane Kiffin made a post that I 1,000% agree with. He basically said, who in their right mind thought that, how can I put this? The transfer portal opens right before the playoffs and the bowl games. So shouldn't we maybe do that? But here's the problem. I understand the why. Guys want to enter the transfer portal. They want to move, and they want to be enrolled in the next semester so they can go to the new college, blah, 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 whatever. Yeah. Okay, but so right before the playoffs or the bowl games, you've got players going, I'm out. So you're like, you don't even know. You can't guarantee all your players are going to be in the bowl or in the playoffs.
You've got
because they may be gone.
Contention that are losing players.
Yeah,
Georgia's got players who are leaving. What the hell? I mean, I would never, ever agree with anything Lane Kiffin says out of principle, but I have to agree with what he's saying.
Yeah.
And hell, there was word and rumor about Marshall losing their whole team, Nick, because the head coach is leaving and going somewhere else. There's talk about the team following him. And just starting with a team from scratch, ready to go, his team.
Listen, I don't mean, well, no, I'm not going to go there. But anyway, we'll keep moving on. I'll tell you off the air.
I can't get this. I can't get this. And if I know wrestling can be fixed later. You know, they can keep it from things. But drafts, how bad has the wrestling draft been the last couple of years?
So that's where I was going. So in college football, the trade portal, transfer portal, transfer portal is what they call it. Both of us are kind of like, look, I get it. I understand. Different show. We'll probably rant on that. It's very much, we feel like this is probably needed because of what you just said. Listen, again, send your hate mail, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. I have not liked the drafts in a very long time.
They're first, yes.
I think we said this a little bit off air. The idea and the concept of the draft, I like. The execution of the drafts over the years, I have not liked them at all, because they always answer. There's one question we always ask after. It's always like, why? Like, why would you draft that person there? Or why did you not draft this person? Or blah, blah, blah. I don't ever think they have to explain too much.
Yeah. Well, if you had everything on one network, you can kind of see what a draft would be fair. But when you consider it's going to go to, well, we need to fill 3 hours of content here and 2 hours of content here, or do we need 3 hours here? Or does this network pay us more for our content? Do we need to does Netflix want Cody Rhodes, or does USA want Cody Rhodes? Or who's going to give us the most money for Roman Reigns' content? That could bring up all kind of crazy stuff. So a portal where you don't have to have people exclusive and you can kind of humor your different customers might make a lot more sense in the end.
What if, total random thought, because I lost the last one. I can't remember what my first one was going to be. What if, like, WWE TKO goes to Netflix and goes, so you want Roman Reigns on Netflix? Yeah. Well, that's going to cost you $2 million a year. Like, we're already paying you. Yeah, but if you specifically want this guy, you're going to have to help cover some of his salary. Spike did it when they brought Sting and Hogan and them in for TNA Impact.
Oh.
It's like, you want them? It's going to cost you. WWE, there's your next revenue generator. Like, we get it. You paid for the rights, but if you specifically want a guy, you got to help subsidize his income, his payroll.
Well, hell, they're getting subsidies to run pay-per-views in places.
Because you know what you'd find out, Myron? What's a guy really worth? Because if USA's going like, we'll give you $2 million, Spike goes, we'll give you $3 million for Roman. Do I hear $4 million?
CW.
Yeah.
Who's a needle
NXT.
mover?
CW's like, we'll give you $5 million to put Roman on NXT. I'm in.
Who's a real needle mover?
You'd find out.
Really,
you would find out. Yeah,
you would find out. But like I was saying, though, they're getting money to run pay-per-views in places.
Well, hold on. I want to come back to this because this is where I was going. What we don't like about it is this the logic. Like, you could never explain the logic of the draft. Like, hey, we're going to draft. You remember there was a draft? I can't remember. It was randomly. Like, they drafted like a random tiered like tag team. You're like, you took them over like the U.S. champion or something. Like, that made no sense. So that's kind of where I think that if this. And by the way, I do like the concept of it seems like the talent get a little bit of say of, hey, you want to come over and, and they're like, okay, yeah, and they can cut the deal and they can make. Then it's like, we can try to recruit certain people, but the reason I didn't draft them, they didn't want to come. They chose to stay with it. Does that make sense? Like, it's easy to explain because it's a double-edged thing. That's not just, well, I could pick anybody I want to, and then I didn't. I passed on Roman Reigns and took Cody Rhodes.
Better storyline tools.
Yes.
You get what about CM Punk in Paul's favor? Does Paul become the new draft wizard? Does Paul know where everyone's going? Is he the new Paul Feinbaum of the WWE?
Well, we'll see, man. But you brought up it. We were talking about pay-per-views and stuff like that and all that. And how about the news that broke literally like a little bit just before we started recording? New Jersey, to be specific, the New Jersey Sports and Exposition Authority, had to write that down because I never would have got that. They're paying TKO/WWE $7.125 million subsidy to help support the 2-day SummerSlam that they're running in MetLife in 2025. Myron, $7.125 million.
So that's your bonus for running this here. Here's your incentive. It's like when the movie companies pay you to shoot your movie here in our state because you're going to bring money into our industry, our film industry. So you're going to bring money in our convention and tourism industry.
Mm-hmm. Largest known subsidy. There's a key part here. Known subsidy is huge because there's some great debate over some manias where monies were like
wrestling
unknown. It was it just like, hey, we're not telling, we're not disclosing. I'm like, kind of weird, but okay. But look, the last one, it was $330,000 for 2021 SummerSlam in Las Vegas. It's 2024 Rumble in Tampa was $500,000. So we're talking. I'm gonna repeat that number again. $7.125 million subsidy.
Well, you quoted me the numbers. It's a small percentage of the economic impact. Less than 10%.
Yeah, $80.7 million in economic impact that they're expected to have there. By the way, $32.4 million of it is wages and salaries. So when they talk about economic impact, it's actually some of this is trickling down to the people who are going to work, and they're going to generate. It's going to be impacted.
Well, how much is going to be sales? How much is going to be taxable sales? People buying T-shirts, people buying sandwiches on the street, people buying newspapers. Not newspapers, Jesus Christ, Myron. People buying stuff like buying a Coke here and there that you tax. A lot of it's going to come back in sales tax money. And the money's there. Okay, this is leftover money from the coronavirus financial recovery money. So use it to benefit your economy. Don't give it to Brett Favre and the $1 Million Man to give speeches in Mississippi. Give it to benefit your economy. This is a good use of it, in my opinion. Draw business to your area, benefit your area. This is what this money was intended for. One
thing we'll stay away from is determining what is good for tax money to be spent on, because there's going to be somebody on the other side that says, I disagree.
There's somebody on every other side.
Okay.
But that's why we stick to wrestling pretty much.
Here would be my official take would be, at least this money is going to somehow to contribute to the economy in that area. So, I'm sure there's a better way to spend that money, as everybody would figure it out for us, because they're smarter people than us. But let's just say we're saying at least you're getting something in return for it. How about that? That's a
Well,
good
I
one,
mean,
right?
they've paid. People pay for UFC. They subsidize. New Jersey's already subsidized the UFC. They gave them $5 million for what, UFC 302 in Newark.
Yeah.
So why not?
Listen, and if you people want to argue with the numbers, numbers are what they are. WWE has they've commissioned off. They've got somebody who does a study that shows the economic impact and all that, because we see it every Mania and SummerSlam, and they're putting these numbers out of what that is. So it's just wild to me that we have cities and states, government, entities, period, literally paying because it was always
wrestling.
$300,000. Like, man, they're actually paying just to run a show here. When I saw that $7 million, I'm like, that is crazy.
It would be like Canton giving Gary an envelope of money to run wrestling there. Okay,
on a smaller scale, but
on a smaller scale. But
they'd have to give it to Dylan now because Gary doesn't have anything to do with Southern Honor anymore. But that's a different story.
That's right. But I would wager somewhere there's a pamphlet or a presentation or an email that shows you, bring WWE to your state or your city. This is what we bring to you. This is what we can offer to you. This is our financial impact, and it gives you a list of all the different cities they've been to.
Listen, that's exactly how it went down. There was a presentation. Pat McAfee was involved. That's how they ended up in Indianapolis.
Yeah,
it's like, hey, this is it's all presentation, and it's all like they put a package together. They go in there and go, this is why you should bring us in here. Now throw us some money. And they do. They clearly are at this point. It's kind of wild, man, that where the revenues are coming from. And we're sitting here talking about a show that, they haven't even, we're already $7 million in, guys. And we haven't even, we haven't done the tickets yet. I mean, as far as
what does it cost to run the show? I don't even know what the cost to run a show is.
It's a 2-day. It's a 2-day summer, so, I mean, it's going to be costly because they're running MetLife. They are running a stadium. They're probably going to have a big set like they always do. So I don't know what those numbers are. That would be, here's the thing.
You're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. This is just extra money. That's all this is. This is just somebody going like, hey, there's a good way to make $7 million here. By the way, here's my argument. If the dollar bar has been set that $7 million is what SummerSlam's worth, what's WrestleMania worth now?
10 at least.
I know it's the SummerSlam is the summer's WrestleMania, whatever they want to call it. But it ain't WrestleMania, so no. I would agree. So whatever that number is, it's pretty unique. So look, but that's how they're making money on some live events. The other thing that's coming up when we're talking about some PLEs is recently in an interview, Mark Shapiro, he made some comments. I don't think I'm going to read the whole thing. I'm going to summarize them. I think with everything going on with PLEs and the Netflix change and all of that kind of stuff, you asked me, and we had this conversation.
We keep having this conversation
about people are like, I guess I can cancel Peacock, because they're going to Netflix. Like, well, what? No, it's 2026. There's still a couple years. Like, what
I keep seeing it, and I used to correct people. Like the first 300 times I saw it, I'd be like, no, they're going to be on Peacock for now. The pay-per-views. You have to, only outside the United States will everything be on Netflix. But now I can't do it anymore, people.
Yeah.
But then we have the discussion. You have to keep reminding me. I am not a typical wrestling fan. You're not a typical wrestling fan. The people that listen to this podcast outside my mother are probably not typical wrestling fans. They pay more attention to the wrestling business. Our friend Billy, as you brought up, probably doesn't know that pay-per-views aren't going to be on Netflix.
Right. We have been bombarded with the fact that Raw will be on Netflix.
Yes.
Raw is such a brand-centric thing with WWE that we would just assume WWE, like the masses would assume WWE's going to Netflix. It's not true, so let's kind of put that one to bed, right? That's not true. It's going to be on Peacock at least for 2 years. However, Mark Shapiro in that interview basically says we will be looking at other options when the Peacock deal is up. For what, like, they're just open to all suitors. Well, no kidding. Like, we kind of assumed that you would be like, hey, whoever's paying us the most money, we're in. Here's the unique situation, too. UFC's deal's coming up soon with ESPN Plus. They're going to be negotiating their new deal. Well, I don't know anything about UFC. I just have people that I know that are in that world. Everybody from I have been told is that the front runner's Netflix. Shocking, right? Shocking that they're the front runners that just drop a boatload of cash and try to get the UFC's pay-per-views, everything all in. Well, the leverage there is, well, when WWE's deal comes up, are you going to just take it globally, worldwide, suck everything into Netflix as far as the PLEs? Because here's the thing. Do you think in the United States we're ever going to get to the part where they say everything goes to Netflix and nothing is on like a cable, nothing's on a broadcast channel? I just find it very hard to believe they would ever make the move completely, to Netflix. Not saying it won't happen. I see this in the United States. As long as the numbers warrant, as long as the money's there, because that's it. Netflix would have to give them enough money to get that other money. I just don't know that.
I cannot predict anything anymore, because when did we think wrestling would be on the internet in the first place? Okay, we're streaming it on the internet. That won't be on airwaves at all. There will be no way to broadcast that. Think about it. It's going to go off, and you're not going to be able to watch it on the airwaves at all anymore.
They're going to have to justify. Can Netflix justify paying the additional amounts that they're getting from CW and from NBC Universal for SmackDown to get it all on Netflix? But here's the great thing that they have. They're going to have basically a year to figure it out.
Yeah. See how they do with it. Now, one thing I like about Peacock, and I hope Netflix does it, is when you're going through and you're looking at Peacock, you got your menu up at the top of the screen. It's WWE right there. So you can just click WWE at the top of the screen and you find your WWE content. And usually your most recent pay-per-view or whatever you're wanting to see is right there on the WWE screen. I hope they do that with Netflix and they don't make it impossible to find.
The interface was going to be huge, because mine by default a lot of times, even when I just opened Peacock, if a PLE was running, it was it was sitting there. And they have got to figure out something to make it easy, because if we know one thing about wrestling fans, they're not very patient and they love to complain really quick.
They'll complain before they'll look.
Yeah. It could literally be like, because you know how like you could see 2 rows and then it's like 3, 4, 5, keep going down? It'd be row 3. Like would be WWE, and then like they would be like, I can't see it when I get on Netflix. Yeah, exactly.
I might January 6th. I might not even be there for the premiere. I might be hiding somewhere in a bunker, waiting on people to blow up and stay away from social media for the day. I hope it works out for the best. I think it will work out for the best, but until they prove they can do it, I'm perfectly comfortable getting all my wrestling on multiple sources for now.
Yeah, I just don't know, because we've got years on the TV deals, but there's only basically about a year or so before they would start negotiating with Peacock to get the pay-per-views, PLEs, on Netflix in America, etc. Whatever.
Well, they got the Europe deal, the rest of the world deal. They got time to practice it out for the smaller audiences.
Well, I don't know. I'm talking about from the sheer revenue of it to say, is it finance? Who gives a crap about, can they practically pull? They'll figure it out. They're not stupid. Within a year, we're not going to be having like buffering problems. Trust me, folks.
Oh, I don't think we'll have any buffering problems at all.
They have to determine, was the money gained by having everything in the rest of the world? Can you justify? Because think about it. They have a really, really good TV deal for SmackDown. Yeah. And they have a really, I would say, a pretty good deal for CW, with the CW for NXT.
I think
NXT could probably be the cheapest one to buy and pick up and suck over to Netflix after the TV deal because of the cost. We'll have to see how that works out in the long run. But
I don't know. They would have to. They would. I think the CW is super happy with their deal. They're getting AEW level ratings for pennies on the dollar compared to what AEW is having to pay to get that. So I think they're super happy with that deal. Um, NXT, if you're talking third brand, I think they might be pushed up there any time now. The content is getting better. They're developing so many new stars. Do we see three 3-hour programs across the board on different networks? Maybe.
So I pulled it up. I just to have this in the conversation before we move on. They're getting on average, it's not every year, it's going to fluctuate obviously, but on average, NBC Universal for SmackDown alone is $287 million a year for 5 years. So that's my question. They're already paying, Netflix is paying. Are they willing to add another $300 million basically to make the numbers round just to move SmackDown onto Netflix? And then the NXT one, I think the NXT one was what, 50? It was something, it wasn't a huge number.
$50 million.
So so for 340, 350 is what you would have to come off with again to move the other two over. And then, by the way, then you got to come off with the money that Peacock's paying to have the PLEs. You got to suck that over, and pay that too. Because wasn't it 5 years, like $1 billion?
It was something ridiculous.
So it's another 200. So you're at 350. You're at 5. Is it worth another $500 million to you to pick up the PLEs, the SmackDown and NXT, and put them all on Netflix in the United States?
And they'd have to prove it is super profitable, because they're not.
I think Raw.
They're not wrestling fans at heart.
Yeah, Raw. For the next year, I think with what they see viewership wise, I think that's going to be a key deciding factor, because then it's kind of like we're not testing a new show. We're going to be able to just pull this over and see what happens. But look, that's enough about that.
They're no billionaire Ted.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, Netflix has got more money than it seems like.
Yeah, but they're not going to be wrestling fans first and business them later.
If they're, I will tell you this: we've all boiled down to these streaming companies all want content, and they want constant content to prevent lapsed members, like lapsed subscribers.
Yep. If
you're slapping all of those shows on there, here's the honest answer. I'm on the $7 model on Netflix. I'm on the ad version. Don't give a shit. That's just me. If you're telling me for $7 that I got those 3 shows, and the PLEs, dude, I'm in. Sign me up. Even if you're a casual fan, that's, by the way, that's $7.99 or the $6.99 for the ad version. That's cheaper than we were at one point when it was $9.99 for Peacock.
Yeah.
And what we were paying for the network. And by the way, the network, we were doing it just for the pay-per-views, not even the TV shows.
Yeah.
So if they think they can pick up a few million subscribers just for that, they're probably in. So
and they have even the regular stuff they put on the subscription services, they put out as a series. The 8-10 episode miniseries is just to keep me watching and keep me subscribed. Or some of them I would have dropped a long time ago, but
here's the thing: you drop. You could. We don't. I mean, I don't. I don't for a million reasons.
Oh, I'm not complicating things for my wife.
But listen, I bluntly honest would tell people, like, if the kids weren't, doing the Netflix thing with it, I would there would be times where I would go like, "There's nothing on Netflix." I would just pause it, and then when the show came, unpause it. Guess what? At January the 6th, those days are over for me. I can't do that. It's not even an option. Yeah, it's not even an option. So yeah, exactly. That's
they got you.
Well, speaking of gotcha, let's get into the next topic, because this has been a hot topic for the last, couple of weeks, maybe a little bit longer.
We're going to try not to be old people, like, interpreting this. We're going to try to look at this from a fair point of view.
Yeah. So, look, I'm going to shock you, and I'm going to surprise you on a couple stances, I'm sure. AEW, the Penta, the Rey, the Ricky Starks, the Mac situation. I mean, like, look, a bunch of people, Willie Mack, a lot of stories and stuff. I don't know that. Here's the thing: I want to stress, and here's why this is a little more complex. I think every case is different.
Yes.
Like, everybody tries to say, lumps it all in together and like acts like, hey, it's one specific problem. I don't necessarily believe that that's true. What do
Yeah,
you think?
and I don't think any of our gossip on this one has come from any sources outside of the dirt sheets, from what I know. So this might be all non-specific stuff. These guys are independent contractors, and they're put in situations where
Are
you
they?
can't go you can't go make money. So are you an independent contractor?
Right.
Like if I was an independent contractor as a pharmacist, and I would go work for Kroger, but I was an independent contractor for Publix. Could Publix tell me I couldn't go work for Kroger? But I was an independent contractor. I wasn't an employee. Does any other job have the ability to tell an independent contractor that? If I hang drywall for Nick and Nick's construction company, if another guy comes and tells me they want me to hang some drywall for them, and Nick's not using me that day to hang drywall, can Nick tell me I can't go hang drywall for another guy? What is the legal standpoint on that? Do you have an answer for me on that, Nick?
Potentially one of the largest questions at hand here. Um, let's start because we talked about there's multiple things. Do you want to start with Ricky Starks? I think because that's
Yeah,
the most
that's where this goes from. I mean, it
yeah.
all. Uh, I really hesitate to say the whole thing starts with Effie, because it really starts with WrestleMania, and it starts with the Royal Rumble and all stuff a long time ago. So
So the Ricky Stark situation is, like, look, we haven't basically seen him on TV like 9 months. Like he's just done nothing. He's healthy.
yeah,
We've seen him come out and talk about like throwing his hands up, kind of like I want to wrestle, I want to work. I'm like, yeah, just they kind of we've seen. Look, we knew stuff was real when Teal Rhodes is making comments
yeah,
about basically just warehousing talents and kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh wait, I
yeah.
never
She
thought I'd see
doesn't
that.
really get involved in the day to day, like, wrestling rumor mill business.
No, she's handling her business and doing her thing, and then like so for it to come out, I was like, all right, man, this might be a little closer to home than we think. But so the whole thing with Ricky Stark's like, hey, he's gonna be GCW, then he's not. He's told not, like he's pulled. I, look. Here's why his situation's differently. I'm gonna say something probably that I don't even 100% agree with. Maybe it just seems to be the take of what the masses think. Of all of the people we are like the Willie Mack, Ricky Starks, Penta, and Rey Fenix. Ricky's the biggest upside. He's the future superstar. Everybody thinks he's like the big guy. Out of those four guys, he's the star, like the individual star long term. Not today. I'm not saying today he's not the guy. Everybody talks about his future. He's, if he was used correctly, he'd be a star, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. That's just what we hear. That's what they say, whoever they are. I don't know. So for him to just be warehoused because for whatever reason, like some people are like, oh, it's because he, went and supported his buddy, Cody Rhodes at WWE shows, and cameras caught him. Okay, maybe that's it. Who knows? That's why that his specific instance is a little bit different when it comes to, hey, we're going to work GCW. No, you're not going to work GCW. He's pulled from the show. That's now back to your, are they independent contractors or not? If they're independent contractors, he should be able to work that show. If they're not, then we got regulations that got to be followed for employees that are not followed because they're, so that's kind of where,
Is it
so
in your contract that they can pull you from any show if they're using you? Because I know a lot of the contracts I've heard about, and you've told me about through some of your sources, have said that the contracts say you can work here, 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 and here, or if you have a show and we need you, we can pull you off the set show and send you here. But they're not using it. They're not pulling you off the show. So the story got out that Tony got mad because Effie said something about the Hammerstein Ballroom show being too close to the GCW show. Okay, and then he said something about Tony's dad. Okay, why is Tony listening to a podcast with Effie on it? I mean, nothing against Effie. I think Effie's terrific. But why is he paying that much attention to stuff like that? He owns a multi-million-dollar company. He's listening to an indie wrestler's podcast. Tony, please listen to our podcast. I'd love it if you listen to our podcast. I will send you advanced copies of our
So,
podcast if you listen. But so he's focused on something like that instead of running a business. That something said on an independent wrestler's podcast would stop him from doing business. I
well, again, I know that's because everybody wants to say it's that. I think it's
I think
the
it's a
other
lot of
pieces.
things.
It's a compilation of other things. That's the issue. It's not the one thing that happened, and
Yeah,
that's
I
where
think
people
Ricky
fall.
Starks is on his shit list,
Yeah.
and he's looking for reasons to
So
mess with Ricky Starks.
now these kind of were two is how they will overlap a little bit. By the way, hot take: what if this whole GCW thing's an angle? I don't think it is, but what if it is? Matt Cardona's wrestling, and everybody's like, well, because you brought he's not a contracted, but he's like one of their main guys.
Yeah, he's a big GCW guy.
He is like a main guy for them. And so
And
I
Effie
could
got
see.
Ricky Starks' spot.
Um, bold prediction. Nick's prediction of something that's going to happen that's not going to happen. I don't believe it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. I'm going to say, like, what if the crazy thing, if it was all an angle, Matt Cardona goes over to Final Battle, beats Chris Jericho for the Ring of Honor title, and they have the rematch because their big argument was they're running Hammerstein right before before GCW is in January. They're doing it in December. What if the payback is, all right, you're right. It was kind of a jerk move. I probably shouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
So we'll give you the rematch for the Ring of Honor title on the Hammerstein Ballroom show. Chris Jericho challenge to get his title back.
I don't know.
Interesting. Would Jericho
I
do
don't
it?
know.
Wait,
Jericho would do anything he needed.
Jericho would do it because it's the Hammerstein Ballroom. That's why a lot of guys would do that for that. So it'd be cool. Not that I know anything. I'm just saying it would be cool.
But when we look at Phoenix, I mean, Phoenix was hurt and he had time added to his contract. The same thing about Starks is what they said. Is that because he was going to leave, Nick? Is it wrong to do that? Was that normal? But from everything I've seen, adding time to a wrestler's contract from when he was hurt was normal. But is adding time to a wrestler's contract and then shelving him because he was hurt, is
Yes.
that normal?
So here's the thing. I do agree with this statement. If a guy's hurt, because he signed a contract that states he knows they can add time to the contract if he's hurt.
Yeah.
If you're planning on, Eric Bischoff said this, and I'd said this to somebody literally hours before I listened to that podcast, that if you're gonna use them, there's nothing wrong with adding the time and bringing them back and using them. Like, it's within his rights, and he's paid them hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever. So absolutely, I don't blame him for adding it and using them. That's fine. You know what I do? You use them and you put your other guys over on their way out. Like that's what you kind of gonna do. That's always been wrestling, and that shouldn't be a problem with that. The problem lies with, yes, if he puts Phoenix, let's say hypothetically, Phoenix is on the shelf, and he just adds the time on. You never see him. You never hear from him. That's Ricky Stark, same thing. If he just he's added all this time to his contract, and he is literally just like, I am not putting you on TV, giving you any exposure to our fan base or whatever, and then watching you leave us when your contract's up and go to WWE. I'm just going to shelve you. That I have a problem with.
Does that damage those guys' stock when they leave and go for a contract with WWE? Do they have less bargaining power? Does that hurt them for the amount of money they can sign for being on the shelf for a year, or not having recent matches to show off?
I think the reason it hurts, and everybody should know this is why it hurts. We are so fast-paced, short-term memory people. out of place, out of mind. If you just did not wrestle for a year, if you had not, especially, look, it's one thing, and I know this is, crazy example, right? It's one thing if, like, John Cena basically took off a year and he's coming back. Well, he's freaking John Cena.
No. You can't see me anyway.
People are going to be all into his return. Look, no, like, if Ricky Starks just doesn't wrestle for a year, if he's not out there making, think about if he was a good boy, he just sat quietly and didn't say anything. In a year, there are going to be a lot of people that when he popped on TV, like, oh yeah, that guy. Like, I hadn't thought about him in, months, 6 months, 9 months, whatever. So that's the danger of being shelved, is that wrestling is such a out of sight, out of mind. That's why surprise returns matter. Because you're like, when they come out, you're like, oh yeah, that guy, he's back.
Well, does Penta need Phoenix for WWE? Because, I mean, are they, do the two of them, are they, WWE and luchadors, masked luchadors, they're kind of eat up with them as far as guys that just sit in the middle of the show. Do they need those guys? Are they trying really to
now,
fill
I'm
a
going to be
3-hour?
fair. If he's chasing a market of that match, the crazy athletic match, they don't have that many of those guys. Look, I'm bluntly telling you up front, they're not 100% my style. Like, it's not going to be.
They're terrific.
No, yeah, they're great at what they do. It's not my favorite style, but, like, it's fun to watch at times. I mean, like, So my point being is, I think if you're building, like, hey, we want just the car crash match that's crazy and wild and everybody's going ooh and ah and ooh and ah. Yeah, they're a team. And I think, by the way, they've signed Penta. Okay, so that's he's going to be a little bit ahead. You brought up the Rumble would be a great place for him to come in and do something crazy, right?
Yeah.
If you want to try to do something to boost him, you put him out there. He gets jumped by a tag team or whatever. They're putting whatever. And then when Phoenix's time is up and he signs and he comes in, boom, my buddy's here to say, here to say me, bam, he pops up. And how cool would it be with, this is a weird one. I know he's kind of tangled with that LWO, or not the LWO, but the Rey Mysterio thing. What if Rey broke off when they got there and Rey was their manager to start, to be the mouthpiece for them and to help them get over it? Like, I think that's kind of the avenue I would go with him. But anyway,
they've got 2 or 3 amazing luchadors in WWE right now that they don't use hardly at all. And I could identify one as Charlotte's husband. I can't tell you his name off the top of my head. And then Santos Escobar's the other guy I was thinking about. Hopefully these guys will find some use and we'll know what to do with them. But
I guess the original point we come back to, like, here's the thing: the adding time and, like, Tony's well within his rights. If he was using them, I would be like a little more aggressive in saying, people just got to deal with it. It sucks, but it's in the contracts, and he's well within his rights to do it.
Yeah, business move or dick move or dick business move.
Look, I only go the other route if it literally is he's not using them. Yeah. If he brought them back and they're on TV, I mean, I hate to say this, you really have nothing to complain about.
Yeah. And then, like I said earlier, we look at things like old men who, we had jobs where you didn't call in sick because you'd get fired, or you didn't miss work, or we were raised in a stranger time.
Yeah. Now, look, we're going to hear his story. Rey Fenix has put out things like some stuff about inhumane treatments, and that's, again, we said something about another story off the air.
Let it shake.
This is we need to figure out, like, what's going on, let people say their piece, and I think we'll find out more. But Nick's ridiculous take of the show was it's not true. I just, you remember me always saying, like, I want to do a new thing where every episode, maybe this is it, every episode we're going to put something that's completely outlandish. I don't believe it's going to happen. I just say it and let people try to figure out which statement I make throughout the show is which one it is. And I'll be like, the one on this show would be, Nick says that the Ricky Starks GCW thing is a complete work. It's all an angle. The Matt Cardona, Jericho, all of this stuff is tied up. It's all a work, folks. That's my take for the show. That's it. So,
yeah, well, there's
but
not really much way I could come up with a legitimate argument against any of that because, well, it's wrestling, and
yeah,
we've done this
but
before.
yeah, exactly. Well, hey, before we get out of here this week, we want to mention look, it's TNA, has been rocking and rolling. We've been watching it from afar,
Yeah.
watching them. I know they're on your YouTube. You've got the package on your
Oh,
YouTube TV.
I love what they're doing. I love the stars. I love the fact they're building new talent. They're also giving older talent a place to go and work. A fourth brand maybe one day. Fifth brand maybe one day. WBE
You ready for this? Well,
territory.
So if you're counting, because WWE's WWE, I know people are kind of like Raw, SmackDown, etc. So when we're talking about the big companies right now, some people don't want to hear this, and it's crazy. It's WWE, clearly the head and shoulders way above everybody. It's not even close. Instead of comparing themselves to WWE, AEW needs to be comparing themselves to TNA because they teased a thing. We haven't seen it yet. They teased a major announcement. How crazy would it be if they got a TV deal, like a non-access TV deal, like a legit paying them to be on a channel? That would be awesome.
Yeah.
But because
I think that's the only thing hurting their appeal right now is the fact that their TV needs to be out there more. If they were on a network or something like CW, I think they'd be killing it. So the quality is there. I love what they're doing. I love the people that are behind it. I love the people that are on the TV every day. Quality programming. It's just it's too good, folks, to just be out there. Not it's doing about 130,000. So it's doing like Rampage numbers basically,
which is crazy in a weird way to be on a channel. Yeah, it is just crazy.
Yeah.
But look, they're doing some really cool stuff. I know, around the country. But they're going to be here. The reason we're mentioning them, they're going to be here in Atlanta. Unfortunately for them, not for us, but unfortunately for them, they're in town Friday for the pay-per-view. It's at Center Stage Theater. And then they're doing the TV tapings on Saturday. Well, Friday, we're going to be at Action.
Yeah.
So, we won't be able to make the pay-per-view show there. Pretty cool-looking card. Moose, I'm not going to go match by match, guys.
Yeah.
Moose, AJ Francis, formerly known as Dolph Ziggler, Nick Nemeth, the Hardys, Joe Hendry, Josh Alexander, Jordan Grace, basically tons of talent.
Yeah.
So that's Friday. And then, of course, the TV will be on Saturday. So right there at the Center Stage Theater. So, listen, they're a big company. We love them. But we love action wrestling. We're going to drive down to Tyrone.
And I have a Christmas party on Saturday I have to go to.
Ditto. So I've got something tied up Saturday. So Saturday night main event at home for me is what it'll be because I won't be able to make it down there. But go check them out. Like if you're a fan of wrestling and you're just like, the problem is if you listen to yesterday's show, we gave you a bunch of shows you could go to on Friday and Saturday that are local. So if you like, hey, I just want to go get listen, we love TNA. We're not crapping on them. Big fans. If that's your thing, go see it. If you want to take the your family and your friends and stuff, whatever, go to one of the local shows, the indie shows. Promise it's going to be more intimate, more interactive with the wrestlers and stuff like that. Trust me, check out yesterday's show, and we kind of ramble down. And look, I post it on social media every week. I try to post all of the shows that I can find. So,
and
absolutely,
when you're out there at those local shows, buy gear. This is my Warden shirt I picked up. Great guy. Pick up some gear from these people. They're out there trying to make their way on the indie circuit so they can be on the next big pay-per-view at Center Stage from somebody. And be good wrestling fans. The thing that's really frustrated me lately is people crapping all over Tony Khan for giving out all those 15,000 action figures and toys in Arlington to coincide with the ticket sales for that show. Guys, yeah, he's a dumbass. But he's giving away 15,000 toys. Let's be better people and just say, yeah, it's great he's giving away 15,000 action figures. Let's not be jerks about it. And Can we just not let one good thing happen and say that's a good thing, wrestling fans? Let's just be positive wrestling fans. Let's go to indie shows. Let's buy indie wrestlers merch. Let's applaud people when they do good. And let's also not attack them when they do good. Save the attacking for when people do bad, folks. We can do better as wrestling fans and people.
Yeah, that's the epitome, and I hate to be this guy. That's the epitome of you're gonna hate anything AEW does, Tony Khan does. Doesn't matter what. Like, that's a cool thing. You can knock it. Hey, it's AEW. Whatever, dude. It's awesome.
I don't like what they do most of the time, but they're good for wrestling. AEW is great for wrestling. How many of the people I know are making money from them? How many people that I've hung out with in an old gym somewhere that are now making money from AEW?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Breweries
I agree,
are the new old gyms now.
Yeah, exactly. And listen, by the way, I wanted to show you, man. So speaking of breweries and shows and all that kind of stuff, I got the mics. They came in. I showed them off yesterday. So going to be super portable now. We're going to be able to do a lot of stuff at those shows where we're going to record little things because there's an adapter that plugs right into the phone. I tested it the other day. It works pretty good. And of course, Myron, where would they find any content we cut at those shows?
I think we would probably put that on the Patreon.
Patreon.com/tappedoutpod. I also thought about like when we're doing like trips back from shows. Now we can record on a phone, clip the mics on our shirt and actually talk, and it'll sound way better. So we'll actually be able to record those conversations coming back from shows. That'll be fun. Like the drive homes. Yeah. Patreon.com/tappedoutpod. That is the only place you'll find the bonus content, and you get the show early and all the other stuff I do. I've got a list of all the shows nationally that Phil Stamper, credit him, puts that list out, emails it, and I just kind of drop it in there so you can get it there. And it's free. I don't put that behind a paywall. That is free. So there is free stuff on there. You can still take that feed that you can get from Patreon. You can put it in Apple Podcast. It already goes to Spotify. You can find it on Spotify as well. But, of course, if you're a YouTube watcher, don't forget, tappedoutpod.com will take you straight to our YouTube page. Make sure you like the page, all the videos every week, subscribe, and then most importantly, click that little bell so every time a show drops, you'll be notified immediately as soon as they drop. But man, that's big week, lots of stuff. I'm getting we got literally Friday we're going to the action show. Saturday night's main event. Sunday, I think as of right now, the plans are to go to Deep South.
I really want
to support our buddy Skrilla as he will be taking on Zilla Fatu there at Deep South.
Skrilla and Zilla.
Yeah, Skrilla and Zilla. We talked about that a little bit yesterday. If you didn't check that out, go back to yesterday. Check out the Tapped In show where we dove into that a little bit as well.
I can't get down there, Skrilla. I just want to tell you I appreciate everything you're doing. Congratulations, man, for all your hard work. You're paying off.
Yeah, let's just hope everybody eats fast. On my event, we're having a brunch, like a Christmas brunch with the family. And I'm like, all right, guys, we're going to have to suck this down so I can get back home and get out of here. So, but, man, anything else before we get out of here?
No, man. Let's just all be good to each other.
Well, what's the old saying, buddy? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.